صفيه المنتجبين طه وياسين سيدنا ونبينا وطبيب قلوبنا مولانا أبي القاسم محمد ثم الصلاة والسلام على أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين لا سيما على بقية الله المنتظر المهدي اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه وتعالى في كتابه الكريم وهو أصدق الصادقين وقوله الحق أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قد أفلح المؤمنون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات Respected brothers, elders, uncles, sisters, aunts and mothers, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. First and foremost, I would like to congratulate each and one of you with the birth anniversary of our second Imam, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala Muhammad. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant all of you the ziyarat, the pilgrimage of this holy Imam in this world and his intercession in the hereafter, inshallah. It is indeed a great honor for me to be able to be here among you during this wiladat, this great occasion of our second Imam, and I'm very happy to see the progress of this community, where we have reached, and of course after many years I've come back here. I'm really happy to see this progress, and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to always bless you and give you more tawfiq to continue this work, and inshallah spread the teachings of our Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. Salawat. Now, in today's generation, we see that many people, they use a lot of social media. And in social media, you find all kinds of things. Some people are there on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok. And people have started to share every single thing on social media. We even find one example of a woman. She even posted on her Facebook that I'm getting divorced. And the first person to like it was her husband. So we see that people, they share every single thing on social media. Now with this new generation of TikTok, if I can call you that, we see that there are a lot of attacks on your beliefs. A lot of attacks and questions and doubts about your belief. And of course, there are a lot of historical debates. And since we are remembering and celebrating the birth anniversary of our second Imam, there is a doubt that is placed in the mindset of our youth. And that is that how come you speak against Muawiyah when your Imam, your second Imam, he paid allegiance to Muawiyah. He created a peace treaty with him and he paid allegiance to Muawiyah. So how come you are against Muawiyah if your Imam accepted Muawiyah? Now this is a question that we need to ask. This is a question that we need to ask. And what is really important is that we don't argue with emotions. No, we argue with the intellect. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He has blessed us with this beautiful intellect that we have. We know that Allah, He has created the animals and He's created the human beings. Now what is the difference between the animals and the humans? Animal eat, we human beings, we eat. Animal drink, we drink. Animal reproduce, we reproduce. Then what is the difference between animal and human beings? And we find that the difference between us and animal is that we have this intellect. We are rational beings. We use this mind. Now, if you look at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will even see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's created someone else with the intellect. And that is angels. So what is the difference between a human being and angel? We see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's favored the human being above even the angels. Why? He gave the human being free will. And not only that, Allah made all the angels bow down and go into sajda in front of a human being who was Nabi Adam alayhi salam. So Allah has created a human being in the best of fashion. As defined in the Holy Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم. We have created a human being in the best manner, the best fashion. We find a very beautiful example of a father who wanted to send his son to the best private school. He's looked everywhere and he found a private school for his son, the best private school. And he sent his son all those years, all the way to A levels. When the son was about to graduate from the A levels, when he graduated from the A levels, the father asked him, "Oh my son, what have you gained from all these years in this school?" The son goes, "Father, I have got some friends, I got some rubbers, I got some pencils, I got this bag, I got these clothes." And the father goes, "I sent you to the best school with the best of teachers. You know, we have air conditioning and everything. I sent you to the best school. And this is all you gain from this school? I could have given you much more." The father says to his son, "I could have given you much more if you had asked me." And the same relates to us. We are living on this earth for X amount of time, and this is the school. Allah has chosen the best school for us. But when you graduate, meaning when you leave this world, Allah will ask us, "What have you gained from this world?" What will we say? This house, that car, this watch. Allah will say, "I created this whole universe for you. And this is the only thing you managed to gain through your life in this school?" And Allah will also tell us, "I sent the best teachers for you, who are the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam." So let us use the teachings of these holy personalities, the best of teachers that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent for us. Now let us use the intellect the same way our Imam Hassan used it. So we are going to answer these doubts with rationality. But in order for us to answer this, I need to take you on a historical journey. So we will start with a person whose name was Abdul Manaf. Or Abdul Manaf, some places it is mentioned, but Abdul Manaf is the more correct in Arabic. Abdul Manaf is the great-great-grandfather of the Holy Prophet. Peace and blessings be upon him. Now, Abdul Manaf, he got two kids, conjoined twins, Hashim and Abdul Shams. They were conjoined twins. According to the book of Tabari, some of the toes of feet of Hashim was connected on the forehead of Abdul Shams. But they divided them, of course. Now, Abdul Shams, we don't know a lot about him in the history. But we know certain things is that how he got his child. And his child is Umayyah. Umayyah, according to history, came from either a slave woman or he was adopted. Whereas if you look on the other side, we have Hashim. Hashim was a very respected man in Arabia. People used to call him Sayyidi. And this is the first time you'll see the word Sayyid being used for someone who's generous, someone's heart who's open. Now remember one thing, that back in the days, before the time of the Prophet, people used to come for pilgrimage to Mecca. People used to come for pilgrimage. And Abdul Manaf used to have the responsibility of being host for all the pilgrimages. So when they came, he used to give them housing, he used to give them food and everything. And he was very much respected. But when he was about to die, he said to Hashim, "I'm old man, you take care of this responsibility. Whoever comes as a guest to Mecca, you will take care of him." So Hashim said, "Of course, Father, I will take care. It is a great honor for me to take care of it. Now what happened is that after Shams, he gets his son Umayyah. Umayyah, as we know from Banu Umayyah, yeah, the Umayyads, it comes from him. Umayyah, so we have Abdul Manaf, Abdul Shams, Hashim. Abdul Shams got more Umayyah. Umayyah was very jealous of his uncle. And when he was jealous of his uncle, he was very upset that why is my uncle getting the honor of hosting the pilgrimage? You know, everyone who came to Mecca, he was very upset about it. So he challenged his uncle Hashim to something called a manafra. What is a manafra? Let me use one example. So I'll use Brother Saif as an example. I challenge Saif for a manafra. What does it mean? Is that me and Saif will go to the wisest person among us, which is Anjuman. And we will go to Anjuman and we will ask, who is the most noble, Kareem, between me and Saif? And you will decide who is the most noble, which is of course Saif. Now, the same thing happened in the history. Umayyah, he challenges Hashim, and they go to one person to ask who is the most noble, who's most Kareem among the people. And the one who loses, he has to leave Makkah for 10 years. He has to go in exile for 10 years, and he has to slaughter 50 camels. And Umayyah and Hashim, they go to a person, and the person says, how can you even challenge Hashim? Hashim is Sayyidi. How can you challenge him? Of course, Hashim is the most noble one. So Umayyah, he slaughtered 50 camels, and he has to leave Makkah. And do you know where he goes? He goes to Damascus. And he stays in Damascus for 10 years. And there's a reason why I'm telling you this, to come to the answer. It's a little bit long answer, but to come into answer in an academic way. So, Umayyah, he leaves towards there. Now, Hashim, he gets married to a woman from his own tribe, and he gets a son, Asad. Who's Asad? So if I say Fatima bint Asad, all of you know who will be, right? So the nana of Imam Ali alayhi salam. So he marries a woman from his own tribe, and he gets Asad, who's the nana of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Then he marries another woman from Banu Najjar, and he gets Abdul Muttalib. So Hashim gets these two children. Whereas Umayyah is already on his way towards Damascus, Syria, Sham, and he gets his son, who's known as Harb. Now we find a very interesting story about now what happens now in history. And that is that Abdul Muttalib, who is son of Hashim, he has many sons, which is seen as great honor. Among his sons is Abdullah, who is the father of all the Prophet. It is also Abu Talib and many others who are among the sons of Abdul Muttalib. So just to quickly recap and have you with me. So Abdul Manaf had twins, Hashim and Abdul Shams. Abdul Shams, he had Umayyah. Umayyah, he had Harb. Hashim, he had Abdul Muttalib. And Abdul Muttalib had many sons. Now, after being exiled in 10 years, Harb comes back to Makkah. And when Harb comes back to Makkah, he sees that Abdul Muttalib has got a lot of honor among people. Because after Hashim, Abdul Muttalib got the honor of hosting the pilgrims who used to come to Makkah. And not only that, in the history we find that Abdul Muttalib is the one who found the Zamzam water in Makkah after it disappeared. He had a dream that there is a Zamzam water in Makkah, and he started digging and digging. And eventually people they started making fun of him, saying, why are you digging and digging? There's nothing there. Are you crazy? Have you lost your mind? He said, no, I had a dream that the Zamzam water will flow out from here. So he digs and he finds the Zamzam water. And people started respecting Abdul Muttalib even more. His honor and respect increased. Remember, he had the responsibility of the pilgrimage, and he found the water, and he had a lot of sons. You know, in Arabia, it was seen as a lot of honor to have a lot of sons. Now, Harb, when he comes back to Makkah, he sees all of this. And he challenges Abdul Muttalib for Munafara again. Like father, he challenges him for Munafara, and they go to the wisest person, and the wisest person says, how come you challenge Abdul Muttalib? He has more sons than that you have, and he has more respect among Arabs than you have. He's the one who's Kareem. So what happened? Harb has to slaughter 50 camels as well, and he's also put in exile for 10 years, and he goes also where? To Damascus. Now imagine Damascus, Umayyah has been there, Harb has been there, and Harb gets the son Abu Sufyan. Remember, Abu Sufyan used to travel a lot between Makkah and Damascus. Because why? They had very strong ties and relationships in Damascus. Abdul Muttalib, he gets the son Abdullah, and Abdullah, he gets the son, our Holy Prophet Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the history between these two, but we know Abu Sufyan was the arch enemy of Rasulullah. And if you look at the generation following them, it is Muawiyah. And, of course, Bibi Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha. This is our salawat. Now, before I continue, I just want to make one point. I just want to mention one point. I'm really proud of the work that is happening in Imam organization in the UK. I'm really, really proud, and I'm taking pictures, and I'm going to send it to our community in Norway. We can take inspiration from the community here. But there is one thing that I want to criticize. I was thinking, well, I'm not criticizing from the middle, but I want to criticize you for one thing. And I feel like when we speak about salawat, it is recited very weakly, unfortunately. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's more like how it should be recited. Even in the azan, when someone says, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah, then we should recite loudly salawat, you know? You know, one person came to Agha Bahjat, and he says to Agha Bahjat, can you give me a dua, that my duas and my wishes and my hajat are answered? Can you give me something? Agha Bahjat says to him, recite salawat. And this guy goes, no, something else. What else can I recite in order to get my hajat accepted? Agha Bahjat says to him, do you know that sending salawat or reciting salawat, it is the sunnah of Allah and sunnah of the angels. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. I hope you're not offended by this. Inshallah, this is a great dhikr, and inshallah we all can benefit from it. So if you look at the history, just a quick recap before we go into the point. So we have Abdul Manaf, he had twins, who is Abdul Shams, Hashim. Abdul Shams, he had Harb, who had Abu Sufyan, who had Muawiyah. Hashim, he had Abdul Muttalib, who had Abdullah, who had Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And who again had Bibi Fatima Zahra sallallahu alayha, Imam Ali alayhi salam as a husband. And then they had their sons, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, we see that Muawiyah, he carried this hatred which his family had. He had this hatred towards the family of Prophet because of this whole history. The whole family tree that we've seen, how each one was sent to Damascus because they lost the Manafara, the hatred in him was quite a lot. Now, what are the reasons for Imam Hassan alayhi salam paying allegiance to, or making a peace treaty with Muawiyah? Now, there is a very interesting quote from Imam Ali alayhi salam. If everyone can recite a salawat, I'll find that quote. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You know the question that people say that Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he paid allegiance to Muawiyah and he threw himself under Muawiyah. That is not correct, because we know that Imam Hassan alayhi salam is the son of Imam Ali alayhi salam. And what did Imam Ali alayhi salam say in the battle of Siffin to Muawiyah? He says, أنا أبو حسن. I'm the father of Hassan. قاتل جدك, I am the killer of your grandfather, وخالك and your uncle, وأخيك and your brother, شدخا يوم بدر. I cut them up into pieces. This is Imam Ali saying to Muawiyah, I cut him up into pieces. I cut your grandfather and your uncle and your brother up into pieces on the day of Badr. ذَلِكُ السَّيْفُ مَعِي. And that sword is with me. Imam Ali is saying, وَبِذَلِكَ الْقَلْبِ أَلْقَى عَدُوِّي. And with the same sword and the same heart, I meet my enemies. And Imam Hassan alayhi salam, you know when Muawiyah came and he started speaking against Imam Ali alayhi salam, Imam Hassan alayhi salam went to the minbar after him and he said to him, oh, you who mention Ali, I am Al-Hassan and Ali was my father. You are Muawiyah and your father was Abu Sufyan. My mother was Fatima and your mother was Hind. My grandfather was the messenger of Allah and your grandfather was Harb. My grandmother was Khadija and your grandmother was Futayla. May God curse him who tries to diminish our reputation and lower our nobility, who harms our tradition and yet has preceded us in disbelief and hypocrisy. Now we see Imam Hassan al-Islam, he clearly spoke against Muawiyah. He never threw himself under Muawiyah by signing this peace treaty. Then why did he sign this peace treaty? We find that Imam Hassan al-Islam, he did not have any support with him. Imam Hassan al-Islam, he says himself, I handed over the caliphate to Muawiyah because I did not have enough companions to fight against him. If I had any, I would fought against him day and night until we defeated him. This is what Imam Hassan alayhi salam is saying. But if I had enough supporters, I would defeat him. And not only that, Islam was facing internal and external factors which Imam Hassan alayhi salam took into consideration. Just know one thing. If Imam Hussein alayhi salam was in the state of Imam Hassan or any of the other A'immah were in the same position as Imam, they would have done the same peace treaty. They would have done anything differently. Now, if you look at the external factors, you had the Persian coming from east and the Romans, the Byzantines, coming from the west, and they were attacking Islam. And there were internal factors causing Muslim Ummah to get destroyed, which were the Khawarij. They were destroying Islam internally. So all of this, if Imam Hassan al-Islam did not create this peace treaty with Muawiyah, Islam would have disappeared. Imam Hassan al-Islam, he had to defend the religion by making a peace treaty. And Imam Hassan al-Islam, he says himself, he had a concern for the religion. He said, I was afraid that the Muslim would be exterminated and none would remain. Therefore, I consented to peace agreement to save Allah's religion. Remember one thing, Muawiyah was very strong in Damascus. Why? Because his grandfather Harb, who had established power there, also Umayyah, his great-grandfather, he had also established power in Damascus. And not only that, Abu Sufyan used to travel a lot to Damascus. So Islam would have got destroyed if Imam Hassan alayhi salam did not create this peace treaty with Muawiyah. Now, one may say, no, but Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he created this peace treaty, and hence he threw himself, he gave bay'ah he paid allegiance to Muawiyah. But that is not correct. Son of Ali can never pay allegiance to someone who's cursed like Muawiyah. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, when he was on his way to Medina, Muawiyah was being attacked by the Khawarij. He was being attacked by some groups of Khawarij. And Muawiyah sent a letter to Imam Hassan alayhi salam saying, come now and stand with me because I'm being attacked. Imam Hassan alayhi salam replies to him. This shows that Imam Hassan alayhi salam never ever paid allegiance to Muawiyah. Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he says to Muawiyah, oh Muawiyah, oh son of Abu Sufyan, do you think me, Hassan ibn Ali, will pay allegiance to you and come to you? Know that if I had enough people, I will be the first one to stand up against you and fight with my army. I'm the first one who will rise my sword against you, O Muawiyah. So, don't think that I have paid allegiance to you or that I am under you. Never ever think so. So, just get back to the generation of TikTok. Just to mention one thing to you, is that you face a lot of challenges, a lot of doubts about the religion on social media. Just know one thing. Your religion, your faith, it has answers to everything. We are the followers of the man who stood on the minbar and said, Saluni, Saluni, qabla an tafqiduni. Ask me, before you lose me. There is a very interesting incident we find during the life of the second caliph, when a guy came and asked him a question, and the second caliph was not able to answer that question. You know what the second caliph did? He ordered that this guy should be beaten up. And they started beating him up. And he said, sorry, I want to ask a question. And they beat him up again. And then the third time he said, please do not beat me up. Then the second caliph said to him, never ask question. Remember, Allah has created us with intellect. Allah has created us with aql. Allah has given us the rationality. We need to use this beautiful gift that ni'mah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And we need to answer these questions and these doubts in an academic way. Never have doubt about your religion. If you can't find the answer at that moment, it doesn't mean that there is not an answer available. Of course, there is always an answer available. Just take out some time and do some reading, look a little bit online, search a little bit, and you will, inshallah, find the answer. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless the youth of this community. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect the elders of this community. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide us on the right path. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect our youth and youngsters from all the doubts that is out there. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to elevate the status of every single marhum and marhumah who has left this world from this society and this community. May Allah give happiness to all of you in this world and the akhirat, inshallah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant all of you the ziyarat of IMAM Hassan alayhi salam in this world and his intercession in the akhirah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.